Hey there, this is Lucius the Framboys from ENG Suite, and today we're going to be looking at Excel shapes in VBA. So I've already got this workbook here, and as you can see, it's got a lot of shape names here, and we're going to use that in a second. But first, we need to learn how to create a shape in Excel VBA. So here we are in VBA. We've already got a module created, and we're going to be using this Learn Shape sub for everything. So the first thing that I need to do is create a shape. And I'm just going to make it on the active sheet. So here's what I'll do. I'll say create a shape. So you select your sheet, whichever one you want to use. I'm going to do active sheet dot shapes dot add shape. And then the first parameter here is going to be the shape type, so the actual shape. So I'm just going to do MS shape smiley face. That's a fun one. And I'm going to place it at 227.1, 48.75, 183, and 167.1. And you'll see that I get an expected equals error. So if you remember, all we have to do is just call that. Okay, so now on our worksheet, we should get a smiley face. We run it, and let's take out. There we go, smiley face at those exact coordinates that we specified with that exact height and width. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at all of the different shapes that you can make. So to do that, I have created, let's go in here, I've created a little bit of code that's going to automatically do that for us. So what it's going to do is it's going to go from C3 to C186, and it's going to that's this all the way down to the very bottom, and then it's going to put a shape right over here that fits there nicely so that we can see. So if you remember from our last video, when you're using these enums, you can either use the actual enum, so you would type in, like I did before, MSO shape smiley face, or you can use the value to get that. However, because of this, the way that this workbook is set up, this is not an enum, it's just a string, so we can't use that. So instead we're going to use the value. And that's just an explanation of how you can create some from the actual workbook. Don't worry about that. So now I'm just going to run that, and as you can see, it's loading. Now let's go see what we did in Excel, and if we get rid of that, we don't need it. Now you see that in each of these columns, it's every single shape that you can make with Excel VBA. And there's a lot of them here. I think 184 of them, or 180 something. So like I said, here's all of your shapes. You can either access these shapes by typing this value into that equals, or you can use these values here to construct that shape. So there we go. That is every shape that you can make in Excel. Now, to speed things up a little bit, I'm just going to control and delete all of them, because now we're ready to move on to actually modifying our shapes. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is we need to learn how to get a shape by its name. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new smiley face, and we have our smiley face here. So now we want to get it. So we want to do it by name. So I'm going to say grab that name there, because that's the name of the shape. And then I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to say get shape by name. And so to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to set shape equal to active sheet dot shapes open parentheses, and that's where we're going to put in the name of the shape. So now that we have the shape, to prove that we've actually grabbed it, we need to do something. So I'm actually going to change the shape's name. Shape name. Okay, so then I'm going to say shape dot name equals, and I'm just going to change it to smiley face. Okay, so this code is going to, we're going to comment this out because we don't need to create a new one. It's going to grab that shape, it's going to rename the shape, and that's going to prove that we've grabbed it. So if we hit run and we come back in here, we see that our shape is now named smiley face. Awesome, so now we know how to name our shapes and how to get them. We're going to comment this out, and now we need to set our shape to that name we just named it. All right, so now what's next? I guess we want to learn how to move our shape around. And so there's a couple different ways to do this, either through methods or properties. And we'll start with our methods first. So we're going to do move shape on the x-axis. So that would be left and right in our Excel workbook. And the first thing that we want to do is grab our shape, and we're going to say increment left. Let's do 100. Okay, so let's go back into here, and let's use this to do it. We run macros, and we're going to run learn shapes, and as you can see, we have just moved it to the right 100. I know it says increment left, but how it works is it's actually using positive and negative values. So moving to the right would be incrementing left positive, and moving back to the left is incrementing negative. So to prove that, let's come in here and let's change it from 100 to negative 70. All right, and then let's come back in here and then macros and run. And it moved back. Okay, so increment left will move it left and right. But there's another way that we can do it if we want to be a little more precise. We can say shape dot left, and then we can set it equal to any value. So originally our shape was at 227.1, so we'll just set it back to its original place. And let's come back in here, macros, run, and it moved. So remember, increment left moves it relative to its current position, and shape.left moves it to the absolute position that is specified. All right, so now we want to learn how to move the shape on the y-axis, and it's very similar. We're going to use shape.increment top, and first we'll go with 100. So if we come in here and macros run, you'll see it just moved down. Just like with increment left, increment top is positive, negative. In this case, positive moves it down, negative moves it up. And the reason for that is the top left corner is 0, 0. So when you're incrementing, you're moving it farther away from 0, 0 or negative back to 0, 0. Okay, so now let's show you just how that looks. So I'm going to say negative 150, and we're going to actually overshoot our initial spot. And if I run that and we come in here, you can see that we are right up towards the top. Okay, and then just like with our x-axis, we also have a shape.top, and we can set that to any absolute position. In this case, we're going to do 48.75 just to get it back to its position that we started with. And there we go. That is moving in the y direction. So we don't just have the ability to move things left and right, up and down. We can also rotate things, which is kind of cool. So if we come in here and we say, I'm going to say rotate shape, we're going to do shape.increment rotation, and let's set this at, let's say 30. So we're going to move 30 degrees, and just like, we'll run that, and you see we've rotated 30 degrees, just like our increment left and increment top. This is positive and negative values. In this case, positive values rotate it clockwise, negative counterclockwise. So to show you that, I'm going to rerun this code, and let's say negative 300. Okay, we run that, and look at that, we've rotated negative 300 from our earlier position, which lands us right here at basically a 90-degree turn. So one other thing that we want to make sure that we do is learn how to set absolute degrees. And again, it's all on a 360 degrees. So if we do shape dot rotation, we can set that absolute, and I'm going to set it at 0, and that'll kind of give you an idea of the orientation. We see that 0 degrees is how it normally is, and then 90, 180, 270. Okay, so you're going to be seeing a lot of that, and that's actually why when we were at 30 and we did negative 300, we actually ended up at negative 270, which is just positive 90. So that's kind of cool. That's how rotation works in Excel VBA. All right, awesome. And next, what we want to do is we want to scale our shape height. So we want to change our shape height, and the first way we're going to do that, again, is through our methods. So here we have here we're going to call it, and we say shape.scale height. And then, so this is a factor that you're going to scale it by. So first, we're just going to do scale it by 2. And then our second is, it's a required Boolean, although if you're using Excel shapes, you can't use it. It's scaled to original. So you can only use that on pictures that have an embedded original size. Whereas with these shapes, it always goes based off of its current height. So we're going to say MSO false. Remember, if you're just dealing with shapes in Excel, this will not do anything. You can't set it to true. If you're dealing with pictures and you set it to true, it's going to scale based on its original height. So maybe we can do that in a future video, although just play around with it and you should get the gist. All right, so I run this, and let's go take a look. And now you can see it's twice as tall, twice the height that it was before. Okay, so this is where I'm going to show you what that original is. So if I scale it from 0.5, we already scaled it up by 2, so this should actually bring it back to normal. Let's take a look. What do you know? It is back to normal. So if we were doing a picture and we set it to MSO true for scale to original, it would actually be half the height it originally was. So remember, MSO false is your only option on shapes. Okay, but let's say we want to do so shape.height. We want to set it to an absolute value. So again, just like our our rotation and our shapes coordinates, we actually have both a method and we have a property, and we can set either of them. So in this case, I'm just going to set it to 100 and run that. And you can see it squashed down quite a bit. And that is because now it's 100 points, whereas before it was 183. So let's bump it back up to 183, and it is back to normal. Okay, awesome. So now we will, let's learn how to scale and change our shape width. Again, it's almost identical, except now instead of height, we're doing width. And let's do 1.5. We'll do MSO false. And if we run that, we see it is 1.5 times wider than it was previously. And let's just get it back to normal. So again, we will use the actual width property, and we will set that at 167.1. Run it, and there we go, back to normal. So let's take a look at some, and I am sorry, our original, I believe, was actually, no wonder that looked so weird. Our original was 167.1 and 183. Because this up here is actually our width, and this is our height, just like this is X and Y. X always comes before Y. We run that, and there we're back to the original. Okay, now we know how to move and rotate and resize our shapes. So the next thing that we want to do is we're going to learn how to flip it. So now we can rotate, we can move and translate. We want to actually flip it backwards, reflect it. So what we're going to do here is we are going to, so we'll say flip shape. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to flip it vertically. So we do shape.flip, and we only have one parameter to this method, and that is whether we want to do MSO flip vertical or horizontal. So we'll do vertical first, because vertical is the only one we can really see with this smiley face. It's now upside down, and what's kind of cool, if I run that again, it's right side up, so it's just going to flip it vertically. Okay, so now we want to do horizontal, but something to notice about this smiley face is symmetrical on the horizontal axis. So what I want to do is I want to rotate it. Let's go 20 degrees. And then I'm going to MSO flip horizontal. So actually, let's do it in 2 steps. First, let's rotate it. And you'll see that we kind of have the guy tilted to what would be his left, our right, if we're looking at him head on. And then let's comment out our rotation. And we're going to flip it horizontal. We run that. And now you see he's flipped over and leaning the other way. So that is how you flip, you move, and you rotate and resize. We basically have complete control over everything that our shape does. Let's set this back to normal. And there we go. Okay, let's say you want to copy and paste the shape. You like the shape, you want another one. Well, what we're going to first have to do is call a copy. So copy and paste shape. We will first call shape dot copy. But copy doesn't really do anything because it's just in the clipboard. So what we're going to then do is call call active sheet. So you have to choose which sheet you want it to be on. Okay, and then it's going to paste it. So now if we come in here, and just because I want to see it, we run it, you will see, let's see here, where did it go? Sometimes they like to jump all over. Doesn't look like it copied and put it right on top of the other one. Okay, that's all right. So we have this second smiley face, but they have the same name. So now if we were to call stuff, we'd be getting some weird behaviors. So what we want to do is we actually want to rename that. And here, let's run this again, because I want to show you. Let's go macros, run. You'll see there, that was the behavior I was expecting. You'll see that this one is selected, the copy, not the original. So what we can do then is exploit that. So it automatically selects it. We can say selection.name equals smiley face 2. So now we're going to copy, paste, and rename our copy. And let's run that. And now we see we have smiley face 2 and smiley face. Okay, super cool. Now we can actually move this around, do whatever we want with it. This is a new shape. So what we're going to want to do is grab that shape. So I'm going to comment this out because we no longer need it. We already have it. And I'm going to say set shape 2. And let's keep it, not what I wanted to do there. Shape 2 equals, and we're going to say active sheet. And then we'll say shapes, smiley face 2. Okay, so now I want to show you how to change your Z order. Z order is the height on the page. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, comment this in, so change shape Z order. And the first thing that we're going to do is grab our original shape, and we're going to say Z order. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab some stuff that will be important for us to have as a reference. So this is your shape order stuff. This is actually a method, and we can either put in one of these enums or one of these values. So you have bring forward, you have bring to front, send backward, send behind text, send to back. Since we're dealing with our first shape, which is currently behind our second shape, you see that, we want to bring it forward. So to bring forward, I'm going to say MSO, and I'm just going to bring to front. And we run that. And now here we see it is in the front. Since we only have 2 objects here, I'm going to say send backward by using 3. And let's come in here because we may need to run it a few times. We brought it backward, and now it is back there. So that is how you change your Z order. Some cool stuff there. Comment that out. Okay, hiding and unhiding shapes. This is another good one to practice with. This one you might want to use based on your state of your application. Now we're starting to get into some a little more common things that you'll probably use to enhance your workbooks. The first thing that we want to do is grab a shape. I'm going to take shape 2, and I'm just going to, hit the numlock, and I'm going to say visible, and this is a property, equals, and I'm going to set it to true. Oops, false, because visible would mean that I can see it, which I currently can. And if I come in here, I can run my macro, and now you can see it is not visible, but it's still there. So if I do MSO true, then macros run, and it is back. So something cool is because this is a property, we can actually we can use its current property. So what I'm going to do is say not, and then I'm going to pass in here shape2.visible. So if shape2.visible equals true, here I want to change that, then it's going to get flipped. So now we should see sort of a toggle action happening. So we run, and we run again, and we run. So now, because we've actually used it, you can use it to toggle visibility pretty easily without having to do a whole lot of static variables. All right, event handling. So this is going to be a big one. This one is quite important, especially if you want to start doing some crazy stuff with UI. So we can say shape2.onAction equals, and then we give it the name of the sub that we want to run. So I'm going to say smiley click. So now I need a sub called smiley click. So I'm going to say public sub smiley click, and then I'm just going to message back shape was clicked. Okay, now if we run this, we can come in here, and when I click it, you'll see shape was clicked. Shape was clicked. But if I click the other one, nothing happens. So that's how you set it. But what if I want to clear it? That's pretty easy. All I have to do is just set that to an empty string. And if I come back in here, normal behavior is restored. So that's super cool. We're going to get into some really, really cool use cases with that in just a couple weeks once we finish up with shapes, because these are really how you control the UI of your applications. Okay, so changing our shape. Let's say we want to change the shape based on our state. That is also pretty easy. We can say shape auto shape type equals, and then again we can either set it to an enum or the value. I'm just going to do 149 because, as you'll see, that has now changed it into the 10-point star right up at the top. But we want to change it back to our smiley face because smiley faces are just more fun, and we'll say MSO shape smiley face. We run that, and let's check, and yep, we are back to a smiley face. So we are good. There, change shape. Okay, so now what we want to do is work on selecting and grouping shapes. So here's a really, really important feature, selecting multiple shapes. So when you want to select something in Excel VBA, you're first going to take whatever it is you want to select, that object. So for the first thing I'm going to do is the first smiley face, that first shape, and I'm going to say select. And then I'm going to say shape2.select. But if I just left it as a regular select, it's actually going to clear my previous selections. So instead, I want to pass in false. So now what happens is, when I'm going to clear that out, when I hit run, it selects them both. Let's see what happens if I don't include that false. So to make it easy, I'm just going to comment that out. We come in here and clear them both. And if we run learn shapes, you'll see it only selects the second because it selected the first and then cleared it on the second. Okay, super cool. I'm going to bring this back because we actually need it for our grouping. So now we are going to learn how to group our shapes. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our selection, and it has to contain multiple elements here, so that's why we did shape select and then shape to select false so that we don't clear it. We'll say selection dot group. All right, let's watch this happen. It's kind of cool. So now we come in here, we run our macro, and you see they have both been selected. Awesome. So we have a group here, but you see select, select, there's like 3 things happening, and that's because both our group and each of these were selected. So what we want to do is we're going to want to have to use that in a sec, but first let's learn how to ungroup, I guess. So all you have to do is selection.ungroup, and let's come in here. I'm going to ungroup them manually for, oops, cancel, ungroup them manually. That way, so first it's going to group them, then it's going to ungroup them. And as you can see, it grouped, ungrouped, and then you're left with both of these. So let's come in here. We're going to group them again. And then let's say we want to name our group. That way we can actually grab it and access it. Well, the first thing that we're going to want to do is make sure we select the group. So if you remember last time we ran this, it selected both of them and the group, which gives you a collection of multiple shapes. So what we're going to do here is run this. And now you see we're just grabbing the group. And that's exactly what we want to do. So I'm actually going to ungroup this because I want to show you what happens. So again, we're grabbing both of those, we're grouping them and selecting the group. So now we can name a new group. You always want to do this if you're making a group and going to be using it further, because this is the best time to rename it automatically. We say selection.name equals, and I'm going to call it new group. You can call it whatever you want. All right. So we're in here, macros, we run, and now it is called new group. Great, so now we can finally comment this stuff out because we have a usable group in Excel VBA. All we have to do is get group by name, and that is the same. So set group equal to active sheet dot shapes and pass in its name, new group, because a group is just a shape that contains other shapes. Okay, so now we can do whatever we want with this group. We can move it. It is a shape. We can copy it, and that's actually what we're going to do. We are going to copy it as a picture and paste it. So copy as picture. Okay, so here's how it works. We're going to say group dot copy picture, and you can do this with any shape, copy it as a picture and paste it. I'm using a group because it's really going to show you how that works. And then again, we just have to paste it, which is active sheet dot paste. All right, let's come in here. So if you see with this group, I can still select the individual shapes within it because they are in fact shapes. But now if I run and I paste a picture, picture 5, it's a real picture. It's not a group of shapes. This is an actual image, which is really cool. You can do that right in VBA, converting shapes into pictures. So now what I want to do is delete this because let's say we want to replace it entirely. So we've generated this picture, this group of shapes programmatically, and we want it to be a picture. Why would you do that? Let's say you're generating some type of report or model or picture. You want to be able to convert it into a picture so that it doesn't take as much rendering, moving, behaves as you would expect. So now we're going to say replace group with picture. And this requires some coding, but it's a great chance to practice. So now that we've pasted it, we're going to say selection dot name equals picture. Again, it selects the picture. So we're just going to rename it, and we can say set pic equal to active sheet dot shapes picture. Okay, now we have our picture. I want to move it over exactly to where that group was. Nice thing is when we paste as an image, the aspect ratio, the height, and the width are exactly the same, so we don't have to worry about that. But I set pic top equal to group dot top, pic dot left equals group dot left. And again, these top and left are properties, so we can actually read them and use them to size other stuff or to calculate things, which I think is really cool. And then now what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete the original because this is going to move it on top, but delete. And this is a very important thing. Sometimes you want to clear all of your shapes or specific shapes based on names. This case, we are going to delete the group. So delete shape. Super easy. Take your object, delete it. All right, let's come in here. So we have the group with the shapes, and when I run this macro, it's going to copy it as an image, paste it on the workbook, put it right where the old one is, and delete the old one. If we run it, there we go. There is no group, just our picture. And that's pretty much it for the basics of shapes. Make sure you come back next time, because next time we're going to actually get into changing the text within shapes, and that is really going to be helpful when it comes to making buttons that react differently with state. It's going to be really cool. We're getting really close to making incredible document templates. So make sure you come back. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and please do something awesome.